It starts with a quiet buzz. You look up, and hanging beneath the roof of your porch is something that wasn't there a week ago. A grey paper nest, small at first, almost harmless, but with every passing day, it grows. Soon, dozens of wasps are flying in and out. Your first thought is probably the same as everyone else's. It has to go. A broom, a can of spray, maybe even a phone call to pest control. But before you destroy that nest, there's something most people never realize. Those wasps may be spending every single day protecting your garden from an army of insects you never even notice. The tomatoes in your backyard, the flowers you've carefully planted, even the vegetables growing just a few feet away. All of them could be under constant attack, and the creatures you fear most may be the ones fighting back. The villains of the garden. Wasps have earned a terrible reputation. One painful sting is enough to make someone avoid them for years, but a sting tells only a tiny part of their story. To understand why wasps build nests near our homes, we first need to understand what they're hunting. While most people admire butterflies and bees, very few notice the caterpillars quietly chewing through leaves, or the aphids draining the life from young plants, or the flies laying eggs in places they shouldn't. To a wasp, these insects aren't just pests, they're food. Every morning, worker wasps leave the nest with a single mission: find prey, return, feed the next generation, again and again, thousands of times throughout the summer. Hunters instead of gardeners. Unlike bees, which spend their days collecting nectar and pollen, many wasps are hunters, powerful, precise, and incredibly efficient. A single colony can remove astonishing numbers of caterpillars, flies, beetle larvae, and other insects from the surrounding area, not because they're trying to help your garden, but because hungry larvae inside the nest need protein to survive. To the wasps, your backyard isn't a place to defend. It's a giant supermarket. Every leaf could be hiding dinner. Every flower could reveal another meal. And that's when you begin to realize the nest hanging above your porch isn't just a home. It's the headquarters of one of nature's most efficient pest control teams. But if wasps spend their lives hunting harmful insects, why do they sometimes seem so aggressive toward us? The answer has much less to do with anger and much more to do with family. They aren't guarding the nest, they're guarding a family. To us, a wasp nest looks like nothing more than a grey paper ball hanging from a roof or hidden beneath a tree branch. But inside, hundreds of tiny lives depend on it. Deep within those paper walls are eggs, developing larvae, and young wasps that cannot survive on their own. Every worker wasp leaving the nest isn't just searching for food, it's returning with a meal for the next generation. Every trip, every hunt, every risky flight has one purpose: keeping the colony alive. Suddenly their behavior begins to make a little more sense. Why they sometimes attack. Many people believe wasps sting because they're naturally aggressive. But that's only part of the story. Imagine someone suddenly shaking your house or swinging a stick toward your front door. You wouldn't ignore it. Neither do wasps. When they sense strong vibrations, rapid movements, or a direct threat to the nest, the colony switches into defense mode. The workers aren't protecting themselves, they're protecting the queen and the young hidden inside. To them, the giant standing beneath the nest isn't a homeowner, it's a predator. And their response has been shaped by millions of years of evolution. Not anger, survival. A hunter with an unexpected job. Here's something most people never realize. Adult wasps often feed on sugary foods like nectar and ripe fruit, but their growing larvae need something very different: protein. That means workers spend much of their day hunting soft-bodied insects, caterpillars, aphids, beetle larvae, small flies. One by one, these pests are carried back to the nest to feed the developing young. Over an entire season, a healthy colony can remove an astonishing number of plant-eating insects from the surrounding area. They aren't trying to save your tomatoes or protect your flowers, they're simply feeding their family, but in doing so, they often help the garden without anyone noticing. The garden's hidden balance. Walk through a healthy garden and you'll probably notice butterflies, bees, and colorful flowers. What you won't see is the invisible balance holding everything together. Every predator controls another population. Every hunter keeps another species in check. Remove too many predators, and pests can multiply far more quickly. Wasps are one small piece of that balance. Not the only one, but an important one. Nature doesn't choose favorites. It depends on relationships. Even the creatures we fear have a role to play. But there's one question we still haven't answered. If wasps are so valuable, should you ever remove a nest from your home? The answer depends on where it's built and how close it is to you. So, should you leave every wasp nest alone? Not always. Nature deserves respect, but so does your safety. If a wasp nest is built high in a tree, tucked beneath the edge of a shed, or in a quiet corner of your garden where people rarely pass, there's often no reason to disturb it. The colony will usually complete its life cycle on its own. As autumn arrives, most workers naturally die and the nest is abandoned the following year. That same nest is almost never reused, but if a nest is hanging beside your front door, inside a child's play area, or anywhere people are likely to come into close contact with it every day, removing it may be the safest choice. The important thing is understanding the difference between unnecessary destruction and responsible management. A neighbor we never tried to understand for generations. Wasps have been treated as nothing more than flying pests, something to avoid, something to destroy. But when scientists study them, they discover remarkable engineers. They build intricate paper nests by chewing weathered wood into tiny fibers and mixing it with saliva to create a surprisingly strong material. Every hexagonal chamber is carefully designed. Every worker knows its role. Every hunt supports the next generation. It's a tiny society, operating with extraordinary precision, not because someone taught them, but because millions of years of evolution shaped every instinct. The next time you see a nest, imagine you're walking through your garden one warm afternoon. You hear that familiar buzz, your eyes follow the sound, and there it is, a paper nest hanging quietly beneath the roof. A week ago, you might have reached for a spray can. Today, you pause, you watch. You notice workers returning with food, others repairing the nest, some standing guard at the entrance. For the first time, you aren't just looking at insects. You're watching a family working together to survive. And suddenly, the nest doesn't seem quite as frightening as it once did. Nature rarely creates creatures without a purpose. Even the animals we fear are often solving problems we never notice. Wasps don't understand that people are afraid of them. They're simply following the instincts that have allowed their species to survive for millions of years. Hunting pests, protecting their young, keeping nature in balance. That doesn't mean every nest belongs beside your front door, but it does mean every nest deserves to be understood before it's destroyed. Sometimes, the creatures we fear most are quietly protecting the places we care about the most. The natural world is filled with remarkable stories hiding in plain sight. From the birds watching us from above, to the tiny hunters living in our gardens, every creature has a role that connects it to something much bigger. Here at Yafa Wisdom, we uncover those hidden stories, revealing the intelligence, survival strategies, and extraordinary lives of the animals we see every day, but rarely understand. If you enjoyed this journey, consider subscribing and join us next time as we explore another fascinating mystery from the natural world. Until next time, stay curious, and remember, sometimes the smallest creatures have the biggest stories to tell.